What if I told you that it's your refusal to face the darker side of things that's holding you back from being the best version of yourself? Carl Jung believed that there was a part of us, unconscious and hidden, that lurked in the depths of our personality. It's where we put all our desires, our beliefs and impulses. He called this the shadow. Freud's protege, Swiss psychologist Carl Jung, was an incredibly influential psychotherapist and psychoanalyst. However, Jung saw Freud's theory of the unconscious as incomplete. According to Jung, Freud only saw the unconscious as a repository of repressed emotions and desires. Jung, however, conceived that there was a deep part of the unconscious, the collective unconscious, a universal pattern of thought comprised of archetypes, including the shadow. In his 1912 book, The Psychology of the Unconscious, he begins to lay out his thinking on the shadow. Jung said that the shadow is whatever we don't want to know about ourselves, and that these repressed unconscious thoughts were one of the biggest dangers facing humanity today.
Nowadays we are not threatened by elementary catastrophes. There is no such thing as an H-bomb. That is all man's doing.
Yeah.
We are the great danger. The psyche is the great danger. What if something goes wrong with the psyche?
Yeah.
You see? And so you see, it is demonstrated to us in our days what the power of the psyche is of man, how important it is to know something about it, but we know nothing about it.
Jung believed nothing can be hidden forever, and everything comes at a cost. These buried aspects can gain control and subvert the will of someone unless they are controlled and integrated. From childhood, we learn what behaviors and qualities are praised and which are frowned upon. To fit in, we develop a persona, the mask we show the world, while hiding the traits that don't align with societal or personal expectations. For example, you might repress anger because it was seen as bad, or ambition because it seemed selfish. Over time, these buried aspects come to form the shadow. We somewhat take the idea of the subconscious for granted, but before there was a time when this hidden part of ourselves was completely in the dark. In order to come up with solutions to behaviours that seemed out of character or evil, we reached for explanations of possession, bewitchment, supernatural influences separate from ourselves. This, you could argue, is not only a description of the modern concept of the shadow, but also just as strong a manifestation of it. But to fail to understand this fact and to gain control over these dark aspects of ourselves is only to feed our own ignorance and leave us unprepared for facing evil out there in the world. We often see ourselves as inherently good and exactly opposed to evil. Jung, however, believed that we exist between the two, and that the human experience is only fulfilled with the understanding and appreciation of both together. At a deeper level, the shadow is a metaphor for the human condition, our struggle to reconcile light and dark, conscious and unconscious. Jung believed that the shadow was essential for personal growth and psychological wholeness, a process he called individuation. This isn't about fixing ourselves, but integrating the shadow into our conscious self, recognizing it as a vital part of who we are. By facing the shadow, we confront our deepest fears and desires, gaining greater self-awareness and empathy for others. It's an act of courage that demands introspection, honesty, and sometimes discomfort. But in doing so, we unlock hidden potential, heal old wounds, and move closer to authenticity. One way in which we've been able to encounter our own confrontation with the shadow is through the stories we tell. Characters battling between order and chaos, good and evil. In Joseph Campbell's The Hero with a Thousand Faces, we begin to unwrap and understand the common themes of our human experience. Every culture seems to follow what he calls the hero's journey. Our favourite stories follow a pattern of commonality that seems to thread itself throughout all cultures. It's the closest thing that storytelling has to science. Stories and the way that they are constructed seem to be a human universal, the call to adventure. This is where the protagonist recognizes the problem and is called upon to resolve it. Often the call is refused at first, but the protagonist must rise to the occasion and venture forth. As far as this relates to our understanding of the shadow, you must recognize the shadow as part of your psyche in order to face it, crossing the threshold. At this point in the story, the protagonist commits to the decision they have made. This can often be crossing a physical barrier where there is no turning back. For the shadow, this must also be confronted, and the decision to explore repressed desires and fears. This is often a scary commitment to make and comes with its own dangers and challenges, but it must be done to address the call to adventure, the abyss. This is the ultimate challenge to the protagonist, Act 3, if you will, where things appear hopeless. The journey can turn on a dime, and the hero must use the knowledge and power they've accrued on their journey to conquer over dark forces. The shadow needs direct confrontation. The most difficult step often comes with a lot of pain. Ego death is necessary for the shadow to be integrated. The return of the elixir. The hero is rewarded for their efforts, risk, and talents. The hero is resurrected and invited back home to share their new abilities to help heal and better their home. The shadow is integrated, and you are now transformed, resulting in newfound wisdom, balance, and wholeness. And it's this concept of balance that I find most revelatory. Neither light or dark can exist without the other. You might be a lovely person, you might have really pure, innocent intentions, but until you integrate your shadow, you might be left unaware and unprepared for when evil inevitably rears its ugly head. The truth is, the enemy you should fear isn't evil itself, it's your refusal to see it within you. By dipping into the dark and coming out the other side, you'll discover that the path to wholeness lies in embracing both.
I felt that Jung should tell me what I should do, whether I should write a book, whether I should get a divorce, what I should do. And he wouldn't. And so I got mad at him. And I said, why is everybody so mean to me? And he said, why are you so mean to everybody? So I stormed out. And you got what I said there. I said to him, why is everybody so mean to me? And he said, why are you so mean to everybody? That was the trigger point. I was gone for a year. And I wrote him, I don't know. Every now and then I'd sit down at the typewriter and write him what a son of a bitch I thought he was. And how when I first got to Europe, everyone thought he was a charlatan. I thought he was too. And I didn't, he was the most conceited, vain man. And I really had a great time. And
you sent all these letters?
Sent the letters, of course I did. And I thought, I hope he drops dead of a stroke. And I felt very good. I just felt fine. When I can get mad, I can lose 5 pounds just by getting mad. It's just the adrenaline goes, and I just think, it's the opposite of poor little me. And I don't care. Let it all go and stuff it up. I don't care what happens to it. And then one morning I woke up, and I began to laugh. I thought, for God's sake, what's been going on here? What a jackass you. And suddenly I realized, sure, he really hit it. And so I phoned Miss Schmidt, Fräulein Schmidt, and asked if I could have an appointment. And she laughed and said, oh, yes, she said, Professor Jung told me to save some time for you. He thought you'd be calling shortly.